Who's the one that lied and said that Kamala Harris was responsible when she was DA of locking up thousands of black people for drug crime?
He doesn't give any sources, so I don't know. But I first heard something like this from Tulsi Gabbard.
But she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana.
So two differences. One, the claim is about people generally, not black people specifically. And two, there's kind of some tricky language with jail and prison.
Convictions? Do you know how much people actually got locked up and went to jail?
How many?
45. And 45 people last time I checked is nowhere close to 1,000.
Reporting in Mercury News does say that only 45 people were sentenced to state prison for marijuana convictions during Harris's term. But state prison is different from city or county jail. This is from a California lawyer's website. It says a jail is usually reserved for inmates incarcerated for lower level crimes, roughly less than a year, whereas prison is for convictions for more serious or violent crimes. These numbers are more recent than Harris's term at the DA, but it's giving you a rough idea. These are the numbers for distribution of sentences for narcotics convictions. That is, the most common outcomes are county jail with probation or county jail, and it's only this thin sliver of dark blue at the top, which is state prison sentence. So if only 45 people went to state prison, that doesn't mean that only 45 people were locked up. In fact, many more likely went to county jail.
So instead of sending people to jail, there were less convictions for minor drug crimes when she was DA.
Here's a plot showing marijuana-related convictions in San Francisco. This highlighted spike in red is when Harris was district attorney there. To me, it seems like she's convicting more people than just before or just after.
45 people that did go to jail for those crimes.
Prison.
You don't even know how many there were actually African American, because that was 45, including everyone. So my question is, who started and spread this lie of thousands and thousands of black people getting locked up? Because usually when you lie, there should be some sort of kernel of correct information.
Like you had a kernel of truth, with 45 to state prison being twisted up to only 45 incarcerated. Or perhaps you have a source which you could share showing that those 45 were the only 45 people incarcerated. But either way, I believe Kamala Harris only convicted 1,900 people for marijuana crimes. So it is right to say that the idea that Kamala Harris locked up thousands of black people for marijuana crimes is wrong. If we want to say that she incarcerated thousands of black people, then we need to look at some of the other stuff she's done. This article in The Atlantic and this article from prospect.org explain how Kamala Harris fought to keep nonviolent prisoners locked up in defiance of a court order. Basically, California prisons were extremely overcrowded, resulting in the prisoners living in terrible conditions. So California Supreme Court said you must reduce overcrowding to about 138% of designed capacity. Kamala Harris's office basically said they did not intend to comply with the court order. Could we just keep 145% overcapacity? By April 2013, a couple years after Harris had left as DA, California still had 9,600 prisoners more than the court-imposed ceiling. And this despite the fact that the court had identified for Harris 5,300 nonviolent offenders with good time credits who were eligible for early release. Why did Harris want to keep them in prison? Well, a memo from her office, which Harris claims she was unaware of, claimed that nonviolent offenders needed to stay incarcerated lest they lose bodies for fire camps in the wildfire-plagued state. Now, I don't know the demographics of the 9,600 extra prisoners that California had, but it seems plausible to me that at least 1,000 of them were black. So if you want to say Kamala Harris did not send thousands of black people to prison for marijuana crimes, that's probably true. But she probably did keep thousands of black people in prison despite a court order telling her to release them. In the Prospect article, we see California's court would have held Harris in contempt, except for the fact that holding her in contempt would have delayed the release of nonviolent inmates even further. And The Atlantic writes that Harris's arguments were, quote, rejected and scorned by federal judges over the past 2 weeks. These court filings are largely void of dispositive facts and unworthy of a first-year associate much less the chief lawyer of our nation's most populous state. Thanks for your time.